The school hallway erupted in laughter. The team captain, wearing his orange uniform, kicked Maya's notebooks, scattering them across the floor. "Pick it up, scholarship girl," he shouted as dozens of students recorded with their phones. On her knees, gathering her things with tears in her eyes, Maya had no idea that the viral video would end up in the wrong hands. Or rather, the right ones. What her mother, a civil rights lawyer, would do with that footage would not only destroy the boy's career, but also expose an entire system of abuse the school had been hiding for years. But before we dive into the full story, let me know where you're watching from and what time it is. Now, subscribe to the channel, and let's get started. "Hey guys, look who it is! The charity case!" Blake Thompson shouted as he blocked Maya Johnson's path in the hallway. "Pick it up, scholarship girl!" In one quick motion, Blake knocked Maya's notebooks from her hands, sending papers flying across the shiny floor of Westfield Academy. The hallway filled with laughter as students pulled out their phones to record. Maya knelt down, trying to gather her scattered physics notes while fighting back tears. Her hands shook as she reached for her papers, some now marked with footprints as students walked past. No one stopped to help. Principal Wilson walked by, glanced at the scene, and continued down the hallway without saying a word. At 16 years old, Maya Johnson was one of the few black scholarship students at Westfield Academy, the most prestigious private high school in Greenwich, Connecticut. Every morning she woke up at 5 o'clock in her small Bridgeport apartment to get ready for school. This morning had started like any other. Maya ironed her simple white blouse and navy skirt, trying to make them look as neat as possible. "Do you have your physics test today?" her mother Patricia asked, placing a bowl of oatmeal on their small kitchen table. "Yes, I studied until midnight," Maya replied, checking her backpack to make sure everything was in order. Patricia smiled. "You will do great." "You always do." She glanced at her watch. "I have to leave early for court. Will you be okay getting to the bus?" "Mom, I take the bus every day," Maya said with a small smile. Patricia pulled her daughter into a tight hug. "I know. I just worry. Text me when you get to school." Maya nodded and watched as her mother grabbed her briefcase. Patricia Johnson was a respected civil rights attorney who worked long hours at a New Haven law firm to give Maya a better life. The bus ride to Greenwich took 45 minutes. Maya watched through the window as the neighborhoods changed, houses getting bigger and lawns more perfect as they got closer to Westfield. When the bus finally stopped near the school, Maya walked the final 10 minutes to campus. The student parking lot was filled with expensive cars, Mercedes, BMWs, and even a few Porsches, driven by students whose parents could afford the full $30,000 yearly tuition. Maya clutched her worn backpack tighter as she walked into the building, feeling immediately out of place despite having attended Westfield for over a year. First period was advanced physics with Mr. Thompson. Maya took her usual seat in the front row, away from most other students who preferred sitting together in the back. "Can anyone explain Newton's third law of motion?" Mr. Thompson asked. Maya raised her hand, the only one in the class. "Yes, Maya?" "For every action there is an equal and opposite reaction," she answered. From the back of the room came a whisper, "Teacher's pet." Mr. Thompson either didn't hear or chose to ignore it. "Correct, Maya." At lunch, Maya sat alone at the far end of the cafeteria. 3 girls walked past her table, one of them pointing at Maya's clothes. "Target special," the girl said loud enough for Maya to hear. The others laughed. Maya looked down at her simple outfit and continued eating her packed lunch. She couldn't afford to buy food at the cafeteria like most students did. After lunch, Maya hurried to her locker to get her notebooks for afternoon classes. That's when Blake Thompson and his friends cornered her in the hallway. Now, kneeling on the floor, picking up her scattered papers, Maya heard someone approach. "Are you okay?" It was Miss Reynolds, the new English teacher. "Yes, I'm fine," Maya said automatically, even though she wasn't. Ms. Reynolds knelt beside her, helping gather the remaining papers. "What happened here?" "I just dropped my stuff," Maya lied, not wanting to cause more problems. Ms. Reynolds looked unconvinced but didn't push. "If you ever need to talk, my classroom is open during lunch and free periods." Maya nodded and quickly organized her notes. She was going to be late for class. For the rest of the day, Maya tried to make herself invisible, keeping her head down in the hallways, but she could feel the stares and hear the whispers. When the final bell rang, Maya hurried to catch her bus back to Bridgeport. As she waited at the stop, she checked her phone and froze. Someone had posted the video of Blake knocking down her books on Westfield's unofficial student page. The comments were worse than the video. "Scholarship trash should know her place. Why is she even at our school? Probably only got in because she's black." Maya quickly put her phone away as the bus arrived. During the long ride home, it kept buzzing with notifications, but she couldn't bring herself to look. When she finally reached her apartment, Maya was relieved to find it empty. Her mother wouldn't be home until 7 o'clock. Maya went straight to the bathroom and let the tears she'd been holding back all day finally fall. After washing her face, Maya started her homework at the kitchen table. She had a physics test tomorrow and 3 other assignments due. No matter what happened at school, she had to maintain her perfect grades. Her scholarship depended on it. Hours later, Maya heard keys in the door. "How was school today?" Patricia asked as she entered, setting down her heavy briefcase. "Fine," Maya lied, not looking up from her textbook. "Did you ace that physics test?" "It's tomorrow." Patricia nodded, looking tired. "Want me to quiz you?" "No, I'm good. Almost done." They ate dinner together, Maya carefully steering the conversation toward her mother's work. Patricia talked about her current case, unaware of what her daughter had endured that day. That night, Maya lay in bed staring at the ceiling. She wanted to tell her mother what was happening at school, but Patricia worked so hard and sacrificed so much to give her this opportunity. Maya didn't want to disappoint her. Her phone buzzed again. Another notification. Maya hesitated, then picked it up to check. Her heart stopped. The video had been shared to the Westfield Parents Association group. Seconds later, her bedroom door opened. Patricia stood there, her face a mix of shock and anger, her phone in hand. "Maya," she said, her voice shaking. "What is this? And why didn't you tell me?" Maya stared at her mother's phone screen, the video of her humiliation playing on repeat. Her heart raced as Patricia sat down on the edge of her bed. "I asked you every day how school was going," Patricia said, her voice soft but hurt. "You always said fine. This doesn't look fine to me." Maya looked away, unable to meet her mother's eyes. "I didn't want you to worry. You work so hard already." Patricia placed her hand gently on Maya's shoulder. "Sweetheart, please tell me the truth. Is this the first time something like this has happened?" The question hung in the air between them. Maya bit her lip, fighting back tears. "No," she finally whispered. "It's been happening for months." Patricia's face fell. "Months? Why didn't you say something?" "Because there's nothing anyone can do." Maya's words burst out. "The teachers see it happen and they just walk away. Principal Wilson saw Blake knock down my books today and did nothing." "What?" Patricia's attorney voice emerged, calm but firm. "The principal witnessed this and didn't intervene?" Maya nodded, tears flowing freely now. "It's not just me. All the scholarship kids get treated this way, especially the ones who aren't white. Blake and his friends call us charity cases and diversity points. They say we don't belong there." Patricia pulled her daughter into a tight hug. "I am so sorry, Maya. I had no idea. But this stops now." Maya pulled away, panic in her eyes. "Mom, please don't make it worse. If you complain, they might take away my scholarship." "Huh. They can't do that because of bullying," Patricia said, though uncertainty flickered across her face. "I'm emailing Principal Wilson tonight. We're meeting with him tomorrow." "Mom, this isn't up for discussion," Patricia said, standing up. "This is discrimination, and it's illegal. Trust me, I know the law." Early the next morning, Patricia sat at the kitchen table typing an email on her laptop. Maya watched her mother's face harden as she wrote. "I've requested an urgent meeting with Principal Wilson today," Patricia said, closing her laptop. "I'll pick you up after school and we'll go together." Maya's stomach tightened. "Everyone will know." "Let them," Patricia said. "You've done nothing wrong." The bus ride to Westfield felt longer than usual. Maya kept her eyes on her phone, reviewing her physics notes for the test. When she finally walked through the school's front doors, she immediately sensed something had changed. Students stared as she passed. Some whispered behind their hands. Others made a show of stepping away as if she carried something contagious. "That's her," someone whispered. "Her mom is freaking out about the video." Maya kept her head down, walking quickly to her locker. The word SNITCH was written in small letters on the metal door. She quickly opened it, grabbed her books, and hurried to physics class. The test was harder than she expected, or maybe she just couldn't concentrate with everyone stealing glances at her. Still, Maya answered every question, determined not to let her grades slip. After physics came English with Miss Reynolds. Maya slid into her seat in the front row, avoiding eye contact with everyone. "Today we're starting a new project," Ms. Reynolds announced. "We'll be exploring the theme of speaking truth to power in literature and in life." Maya looked up, surprised. Ms. Reynolds made brief eye contact with her before continuing. "Throughout history, individuals have stood up against systems that were unfair or harmful. Your assignment is to research examples and create a presentation on how these voices created change." As the class ended, Ms. Reynolds called out, "Maya, could you stay for a moment?" When the other students left, Ms. Reynolds closed the classroom door. "I want you to know that I saw the video. What happened to you was wrong, and I've reported it to administration." Maya looked down at her hands. "It won't make any difference." "Maybe not right away," Ms. Reynolds said, "but staying silent never creates change." She paused. "My classroom is always open if you need a quiet place during lunch or free periods." When lunchtime came, Maya avoided the cafeteria. Instead, she found an empty bench in a quiet hallway and unwrapped her sandwich. She had just taken her first bite when someone sat down beside her. "Hi," said a girl with dark hair pulled into a neat ponytail. "I'm Zoe Martinez." Maya recognized her from AP Chemistry. "Maya Johnson." "I know who you are," Zoe said quietly. "Everyone does now." Maya stiffened. "If you came to make fun of me—" "I didn't," Zoe interrupted. "I came because the same thing happened to me last semester." Maya turned to look at her properly. "Blake?" Zoe nodded. "Him and his friends. They called me cleaning lady because my mom is from Mexico." She pulled out her lunch, a homemade burrito. "They made jokes every time I brought food from home." "Did you tell anyone?" "I told my counselor," Zoe said. "He said I should try to fit in better. Maybe bring different lunches." She shrugged. "My mom makes these. They're part of who I am." The two girls ate in silence for a moment. "My mom is meeting with Principal Wilson after school," Maya said. Zoe's eyes widened. "Really?" "No one's parents ever complain. They're afraid of losing the scholarships." "My mom's a civil rights attorney. She's not afraid of anyone." Meanwhile, Patricia Johnson sat in her office preparing for court while composing an email to her colleague David Cohen at the Equal Education Alliance. She documented the incident with Blake, Principal Wilson's failure to intervene, and Maya's revelation that this was ongoing behavior targeting scholarship students of color. At 3 o'clock sharp, Patricia parked her car outside Westfield Academy. The campus was beautiful, with ivy-covered brick buildings and perfect green lawns. It looked like a college brochure. Patricia had been so proud when Maya received the scholarship, believing it would open doors to a better future. Now she wondered what other doors it had opened. Maya was waiting by the front steps, her backpack clutched tightly against her chest. "Ready?" Patricia asked. Maya nodded, though everything about her posture said she wasn't. Principal Wilson's office was large, with dark wood furniture and walls covered in framed photos of distinguished alumni, all of them white men in business suits or sports uniforms. "Mrs. Johnson," Wilson said, standing to shake Patricia's hand, "I understand you have concerns about a video circulating online." "My concerns go far beyond a single video, Principal Wilson," Patricia said, her voice professional but cold. "My daughter has informed me that she and other scholarship students, particularly students of color, have been subjected to ongoing harassment at this school." Wilson leaned back in his chair. "Mrs. Johnson, teenagers can be unkind to each other. It's part of growing up. This isn't unkindness. It's discrimination," Patricia replied. "And according to Maya, you witnessed an incident yesterday and did nothing." Wilson's smile tightened. "I recall seeing Maya drop her books. I had no reason to believe it was anything but an accident. The video clearly shows Blake Thompson knocking them from her hands," Patricia said. "Videos can be misleading," Wilson replied. "Westfield Academy is a competitive environment. Some students thrive here, others find it challenging." Patricia narrowed her eyes. "Are you suggesting my daughter doesn't belong at this school?" "Not at all," Wilson said smoothly. "Maya is academically gifted, but perhaps she's a bit sensitive to the normal social dynamics of a prestigious institution." "Bullying is not a normal social dynamic," Patricia countered. Wilson's smile disappeared. "Mrs. Johnson, we take all concerns seriously. I'll speak with Blake about this incident." He stood up. "However, I should note that scholarship reviews are coming up, and we look at more than just academics. Students who create disruptions often find Westfield isn't the right fit for them." Patricia stood too, her voice dangerously calm. "Are you threatening my daughter's scholarship because she reported bullying?" "Of course not," Wilson said. "I'm simply explaining our holistic approach to student assessment." That evening, Patricia made several phone calls from her home office while Maya worked on homework at the kitchen table. Through the open door, Maya could hear snippets of conversation. "Yes, David, he practically threatened her scholarship. No, I have the video. I think we need to look at a pattern of discrimination." Maya checked her phone and found dozens of new notifications. Anonymous messages flooded her social media accounts. "Scholarship trash should be grateful or get out." "Crying to mommy will get your charity taken away." "Nobody wants you here anyway." Her hands shaking, Maya showed the messages to her mother. Patricia's face darkened as she scrolled through them. "That's it," she said, picking up her phone again. "I'm calling Tyler Washington's father. He's on the school board. This has gone too far." As Patricia dialed, Maya stared at another message that had just appeared on her screen. "We know where you live, scholarship girl. Watch your back." Maya's hands shook as she stared at the threatening message on her phone. Patricia noticed her daughter's face turn pale. "Maya, what is it?" Patricia asked, pausing before dialing Tyler's father. Maya silently passed her phone to her mother. Patricia's expression hardened as she read the message. "That's it," Patricia said, her voice steady but tight with anger. "This has gone beyond school bullying." She completed the call, speaking in her professional attorney voice. "Marcus? This is Patricia Johnson, Maya's mother. We need to talk about what's happening at Westfield, tonight if possible." After she hung up, Patricia created a new spreadsheet on her laptop titled Westfield Discrimination Cases. She started entering information about Maya's experiences, dates, names, and details. "I'm going to contact every family of minority scholarship students," Patricia said. "This isn't just about you anymore. If this is happening to other children, we need to document everything." The next morning, Maya walked through Westfield's main entrance with her head down. Students whispered as she passed, some pointing at their phones. When she reached her locker, she froze. The word "snitch" was written across it in large black marker, much bigger than the small writing she'd noticed the day before. Dean Parker walked by, stopping briefly. "Vandalism isn't acceptable, Ms. Johnson. Do you know who did this?" "No," Maya said quietly. Well, we shouldn't jump to conclusions about who's responsible, he said, looking uncomfortable. I'll have the janitor clean it off. Try to avoid creating more drama. Maya stood there, stunned by his response, as he walked away. She quickly gathered her books and hurried to class, keeping her eyes on the floor. In the cafeteria at lunch, Maya sat alone, trying to be invisible. She could feel eyes on her from all directions. Suddenly, a tray dropped onto the table across from her. She looked up to see Tyler Washington, a tall black junior whose father was the only black member of the school board. Mind if I sit here? He asked, already sitting down. Sure, Maya said, surprised. They ate in silence for a few minutes before Tyler spoke again. My dad told me about what happened. That's not cool. Before Maya could respond, Blake Thompson and his friends walked by their table. Collecting the charity cases, Washington? Blake called out. Trying to start a club? Tyler stood up, his full height making Blake step back slightly. Leave her alone, man! This isn't what Westfield should be about. What would you know about what Westfield should be? Blake sneered. Your family can afford the full tuition. You're not like them. Tyler stepped closer to Blake. And you think that gives you the right to treat people like garbage? That's some backward thinking, Thompson. The cafeteria had gone quiet, everyone watching the confrontation. Blake looked around, noticing the attention, and forced a laugh. Whatever, man. Enjoy your lunch with Scholarship Girl. He walked away, his friends following. Tyler sat back down. Those guys are jerks. Always have been. Thanks, Maya said quietly. You didn't have to do that. Yeah, I did, Tyler replied. My dad always says if you see something wrong and don't speak up, you're part of the problem. After lunch, Maya headed to English class early. Ms. Reynolds was alone, grading papers. Maya, she said, looking up. How are you holding up? Maya shrugged. Someone wrote SNITCH on my locker today. Ms. Reynolds frowned. Did you report it? Dean Parker saw it. He said I shouldn't create more drama. Ms. Reynolds closed her grade book. Maya, I want you to know you can use my classroom during your free periods or lunch if you need a quiet space. She hesitated, then added, I found some things in the faculty files you and your mother should see. Copies of discrimination complaints that were never addressed. Really? Maya asked. Ms. Reynolds nodded. I can give them to you after school. Just don't mention where you got them. Later that day, Zoe found Maya in the library. Hey, she whispered, sliding into the chair beside her. I want you to meet some people. She led Maya to a quiet corner where 3 other students waited, James Chen, Aisha Okafor, and Diego Martinez. We're all scholarship students, Zoe explained, and we've all dealt with the same stuff you're going through. It gets worse junior year, Aisha said quietly. That's when they review the scholarships. Last year, 4 minority scholarship students left before senior year. Left or were pushed out? Maya asked. Both, James replied. One got accused of cheating right after he reported harassment. Another suddenly failed to meet academic standards even though she had a 3.8 GPA. Diego nodded. My brother was here 3 years ago. He said they find ways to get rid of minority students before college application time. Why? Maya asked. So we can't put Westfield on our college applications, Aisha explained. They get to count us for their diversity numbers when we enter, but they don't want us representing the school to colleges. That evening, Patricia met Marcus Washington at a coffee shop 20 minutes from Greenwich. Marcus was a tall, distinguished man in an expensive suit. Thank you for meeting me, Patricia said. I've been concerned about Westfield's environment for years, Marcus replied. Tyler doesn't experience it directly because of our family's position, but he sees it happening to others. He pulled out a folder and placed it on the table. These are redacted records I accessed as a board member. Over the past decade, 87% of minority scholarship students were removed or left before senior year. The rate for white scholarship recipients is only 22%. Patricia examined the documents, her attorney's mind quickly processing the pattern. "This is systematic discrimination," she said. "Have you brought this to the board's attention?" Marcus laughed without humor. "Richard Thompson, Blake's father, is the board chairman. He dismisses any mention of racial issues as political correctness gone wild. His family has donated millions to Westfield over generations." "That doesn't put them above the law," Patricia said firmly. "I'm reaching out to former students named in these records. We need first-hand accounts." The next morning, Maya found Ms. Reynolds waiting by her locker. "Let me walk with you to report the new vandalism," Ms. Reynolds said. Someone had crossed out "snitch" and written "dead" underneath it. Principal Wilson barely looked at the locker when they showed him. "Ms. Johnson, I understand you're upset, but these pranks will stop if you focus on academics rather than stirring up drama." "Pranks?" Ms. Reynolds questioned. "This is threatening language." Wilson gave her a cold look. "Ms. Reynolds, you're still in your probationary period as a new teacher. I suggest you focus on your classroom duties." That afternoon, Patricia called Jasmine Taylor, a former scholarship student who had left Westfield 2 years earlier. "Yes, I remember exactly what happened," Jasmine said over the phone. "I reported Blake Thompson for saying racist things to me in chemistry lab. 2 weeks later, I was accused of cheating on a test I got a perfect score on. When my mom questioned it, they suggested I might not be Westfield material, after all." Patricia added Jasmine's account to her growing evidence wall in their apartment. Maya helped her connect the incidents with red string, creating a visual map of discrimination patterns. 8 former students have told me almost identical stories, Patricia said. All minority scholarship recipients, all pushed out after reporting harassment. "Mom, look," Maya pointed to her laptop screen. "Westfield just sent an email about the annual Legacy Gala next weekend." Patricia read over Maya's shoulder, "Celebrating our proud heritage. Scholarship families are invited as special guests and will be recognized for their contribution to diversity." "Contribution to diversity?" Patricia repeated. "They're treating you like tokens, not students." Maya's phone buzzed with a text from Tyler. "My dad says Blake's father is furious about your mom's investigation. Be careful tomorrow at school." Patricia noticed Maya's worried expression. "What is it?" "I'm scared to go back there," Maya admitted. "But I'm more scared of what happens if we don't do anything." Patricia hugged her daughter tightly. "We're going to change things, Maya. Not just for you, but for every student who comes after you." Maya's phone buzzed again. This time it was from an unknown number. "This is Emma Sullivan, Blake's girlfriend. I have screenshots of everything they've planned and I can't stay silent anymore." Maya stared at her phone screen in disbelief. Emma Sullivan, Blake's girlfriend, wanted to help her? Emma was one of the most popular girls at Westfield, always perfectly dressed in expensive clothes, her blonde hair always styled perfectly. "Mom," Maya called, her voice shaking slightly. "Look at this message." Patricia read the text and immediately sat down next to Maya. "This could be important evidence. Should we respond?" Maya nodded slowly. "But what if it's a trap? What if Blake is using her phone to trick us?" "That's possible," Patricia admitted. "Suggest meeting in a public place where you'll be safe." Maya typed a response. "This is Maya. I'd like to talk. Can we meet at the Starbucks on Main Street tomorrow after school?" The reply came almost immediately. "Yes, I'll be there. Please come alone. I'm scared Blake will find out." Early the next morning, Patricia made more calls to former Westfield scholarship students. Maya could hear her mother's voice from the kitchen as she got ready for school. "So after you reported the harassment, they suddenly accused you of plagiarism?" Patricia was saying. "And you had never had any academic issues before that?" Maya walked into the kitchen just as her mother ended the call. "That's the 15th former student with almost the exact same story," Patricia said, adding notes to her growing case file. "After reporting harassment, They suddenly faced honor code violations or academic probation for ridiculous reasons. "Do you think the same thing will happen to me?" Maya asked quietly. Patricia looked up, her expression determined. "Not if I can help it. I'm documenting everything. If they try to take your scholarship, we'll be ready." At school, Maya headed to chemistry lab, dreading the class. Her lab partner, Scott Williams, was one of Blake's closest friends. "Today we'll continue our experiments on chemical reactions," Mr. Benson announced. "Please be careful with the solutions." Scott smirked as Maya carefully measured the chemicals for their experiment. As she turned to record their data, Scott bumped the table, causing a beaker to spill across their lab report. "Oops," he said with fake concern. "Sorry about that. Guess we'll have to start over. And look, it ruined your notes too." Mr. Benson walked over. "What happened here?" "Just an accident," Scott said quickly. Maya was a little clumsy with the beaker. Maya started to protest, but stopped when she saw Mr. Benson's expression. He clearly had already decided who was at fault. "Ms. Johnson, please be more careful," Mr. Benson said. "This will affect your lab grade if you can't complete the assignment." In the hallway after class, Maya noticed Emma Sullivan watching her from across the hall. Unlike usual, Emma wasn't surrounded by her friends. Their eyes met briefly before Emma looked away, uncomfortable. Blake appeared beside Emma, putting his arm around her shoulders possessively. "There's scholarship, girl," Blake said loudly. "Still think you belong here after ratting us out?" Maya kept walking, clutching her books tightly. From the corner of her eye, she saw Emma's face. She didn't look happy with Blake's comments. During her free period, Maya went to Miss Reynolds' classroom as promised. The teacher wasn't alone. "Maya, this is Mr. Diaz," Ms. Reynolds said. "He works in maintenance here." Mr. Diaz was a middle-aged man with kind eyes and work-worn hands. "My daughter Maria was a scholarship student here 3 years ago," he explained. "Same thing happened to her that's happening to you." "What happened to her?" Maya asked. "She reported harassment from some rich boys. Then suddenly she was accused of cheating. They took her scholarship away." Mr. Diaz's voice was heavy with old anger. "She had to transfer to public school for senior year. It affected her college applications." Mr. Diaz looked around, then lowered his voice. "I saw what happened to your locker. I check the security cameras sometimes." He pulled out his phone and showed Maya a video clip. "Look, this was yesterday morning, 20 minutes before first period." The grainy video showed Blake and 2 friends walking down the empty hallway, stopping at Maya's locker. One kept watch while Blake wrote something on it. Then they walked away, laughing. "Can I send this to my mom?" Maya asked, her heart racing. Mr. Diaz nodded. "I already sent it to Miss Reynolds. I can't get involved directly. I need this job, but I couldn't stay silent." That afternoon, Patricia met with David Cohen from the Equal Education Alliance at her law office. "These numbers are disturbing," David said, reviewing Patricia's research. "Westfield claims that 23% of their student body comes from diverse backgrounds, but when you look at their graduation photos, the numbers don't match," Patricia finished. "They count students when they enter but push them out before graduation." "Exactly," David nodded. "They use minority scholarship students to make their enrollment look diverse, then find ways to remove them before they become alumni." "I've interviewed 15 former students so far," Patricia said. "All had nearly identical experiences. After reporting harassment, they faced sudden academic or disciplinary issues." David frowned. "This is systematic discrimination. We need to pressure the board directly. Have you approached them yet?" "I sent an email with preliminary findings this morning," Patricia said. "I'm waiting for—" Her phone buzzed with a new email. Patricia's expression darkened as she read it. "It's from Richard Thompson, Blake's father and board chairman," she said. "While we take all concerns seriously, the board would like to remind you that scholarship criteria and eligibility reviews fall entirely within our authority. We hope all scholarship recipients continue to meet our high standards of both academic excellence and community conduct. "That's a threat," David said flatly. "A very thinly veiled one," Patricia agreed. After school, Maya met Emma Sullivan at Starbucks as planned. Emma was already there, sitting in a corner table, nervously checking her phone. "Thank you for coming," Emma said as Maya sat down. She looked different outside of school, less confident, almost scared. "Why did you text me?" Maya asked directly. Emma took a deep breath. "Because what's happening to you is wrong and I can't pretend anymore." She pulled out her phone. "Blake and his friends have a private group chat called Scholarship Hunters. They plan how to target scholarship students, especially minority ones." She showed Maya the screen, scrolling through hundreds of messages. Maya felt sick as she read them. "This has been going on for years," Emma continued. "Seniors pass it down to juniors. They call it a tradition. They pick scholarship students to target each year." "Why are you showing me this now?" Maya asked. Emma looked down. "Because last night they were talking about your missing physics lab report." Maya's heart stopped. "What?" "They took it from your locker yesterday," Emma admitted. "They thought it was funny that you might fail the assignment." "My physics grade is part of my scholarship review," Maya said, panic rising in her voice. "I know," Emma said quietly. "That's why I'm telling you. This has gone too far." She hesitated. "Some administrators know about this too. They think it motivates scholarship students to work harder or proves they can't handle the pressure of Westfield." Just then, Maya's phone rang. It was her mother. "Maya, Marcus Washington just called," Patricia said, her voice urgent. "The board has called an emergency meeting tonight about scholarship eligibility requirements. They're trying to change the rules to push you out." "Mom, my physics lab report is missing," Maya said. "Emma just told me Blake and his friends took it." "Who's Emma?" Patricia asked. "Blake's girlfriend. She's showing me their group chat where they plan everything." There was a pause. Then Patricia said, "Put her on the phone, please." Maya handed her phone to Emma, who looked terrified but took it. "Yes, ma'am. Yes, I can. I have all the screenshots. Yes, I'll send them right now." Emma's voice trembled as she spoke to Patricia. When she handed the phone back, Maya could hear her mother in full attorney mode. "Maya, come home immediately. This is exactly what happened to other students before their scholarships were revoked. We need to act fast." When Maya arrived home, she found her mother on the phone with Marcus Washington. "They've called this emergency meeting specifically to target Maya," Patricia was saying. "We need to stop them." As she hung up, Patricia turned to Maya. "Your physics teacher emailed you about the missing assignment. He says it will drop your grade to a C if you don't turn it in tomorrow." "But they stole it," Maya protested. "I know," Patricia said grimly. "That's their plan. First create a problem, then use it against you." The doorbell rang. Patricia opened it to find a manila envelope on the doorstep with no name or return address. Inside were printed copies of internal Westfield emails discussing managing scholarship retention and maintaining appropriate enrollment diversity without affecting alumni profiles. "Who sent this?" Maya asked. "I don't know," Patricia said, "but whoever it is just gave us proof of their entire system." Maya's phone buzzed with a text from Tyler. "Dad says the board is meeting right now to discuss new character requirements for scholarships. They're trying to force you out before you expose them." Patricia stared at the text message on Maya's phone, her attorney mind already calculating their next move. "They're trying to change the rules right in the middle of the game," she said, pacing the small living room. "What do we do?" Maya asked, panic rising in her voice. "We fight back," Patricia said firmly, "and we do it publicly where they can't hide." She picked up the anonymous envelope with the internal emails. "This is exactly what we needed." Patricia immediately called Marcus Washington. "Marcus, I have documented evidence of their discrimination practices. Can you stall the vote?" "I'm trying," Marcus replied, his voice low. Richard Thompson is pushing hard for these new character requirements that would make any complaint about treatment grounds for scholarship review. The Legacy Gala is this Saturday night, Patricia said, suddenly thoughtful. All the donors will be there, right? Yes, it's their biggest fundraising event of the year, Marcus confirmed. Good, Patricia said with newfound determination. Tell me everything you know about it. The next morning, Emma Sullivan met Patricia and Maya at a coffee shop several miles from Greenwich. Emma looked over her shoulder nervously every few minutes. No one followed me, Emma assured them, though she seemed to be reassuring herself too. Blake thinks I'm at yoga class. Emma handed Patricia her phone. I downloaded all the screenshots. The group chat goes back 3 years. Seniors pass it to juniors as a tradition. Patricia scrolled through the messages, her face growing darker with each swipe. They call it scholarship hunters, Emma explained. They target scholarship students who they think don't know their place. Blake's father even knows about it. He told Blake it was a Westfield tradition when he was a student there too. Did any administrators know about this? Patricia asked. Emma nodded reluctantly. Dean Parker saw some of the posts once when he took Blake's phone during class. He gave it back and said, "Be more careful where you post these things." He never reported it. This is exactly what we need, Patricia said, forwarding the screenshots to her email. Emma, would you be willing to make a formal statement? Fear flashed across Emma's face. My parents are friends with the Thompsons. My dad works for Richard's company. Patricia nodded understanding. For now, this is enough. Thank you for being brave. When Maya arrived at school that day, she noticed something different. A few students were wearing small handmade pins that read, "I stand with Maya." Tyler Washington nodded to her in the hallway, displaying his pin proudly. In English class, Ms. Reynolds handed back essays. When Maya received hers, there was a small note attached, "Stay strong. Changes are coming." During lunch, Maya sat with Zoe and the other scholarship students. They had begun calling themselves the Excellence Initiative as a way to reclaim their identity from the term charity cases. "Did you hear about the emergency board meeting last night?" James Chen asked in a low voice. "My mom was on the phone with Tyler's dad," Maya confirmed. "They tried to change the scholarship requirements." "What happened?" Aisha asked. Marcus Washington stopped the vote, Maya explained. He demanded a full investigation into discrimination claims before any changes to scholarship policies. "That made Richard Thompson furious," Diego added. "My father cleans their house. He heard him shouting about it this morning." After school, Maya was called to Principal Wilson's office. She texted her mother immediately, who replied she was on her way. Wilson didn't wait for Patricia to arrive. "Maya," he began with a disappointed sigh, "I wanted to speak with you about your future at Westfield." "My future?" Maya asked, trying to keep her voice steady. "Yes," Wilson said, folding his hands on his desk. "I'm concerned that Westfield might not be the right environment for you. You're a bright student, but you seem unhappy here." "I'm unhappy with being bullied," Maya said directly. "Not with the education." Wilson's smile tightened. "These social issues seem to be distracting you from your academics. Your physics grade has dropped, for instance." "Because my lab report was stolen from my locker," Maya countered. Wilson's eyebrows rose. "That's a serious accusation. Do you have proof?" Before Maya could answer, Patricia entered the office without knocking. "Ms. Johnson has plenty of proof," Patricia said, "including security footage of Blake Thompson at her locker and screenshots from the Scholarship Hunters group where they discussed stealing her work." Wilson's face paled slightly. "I wasn't aware." "You weren't aware of a lot of things, apparently," Patricia interrupted. "Or perhaps you were aware and chose to ignore them. Either way, Maya will not be transferring anywhere. Her scholarship is legally binding until the end of the school year." Wilson's smile disappeared completely. "Mrs. Johnson, I should remind you that the school board has final say over all scholarship matters. And I should remind you that discrimination is illegal," Patricia replied coolly, "even at Westfield Academy." For the next 2 days, Patricia worked tirelessly, contacting former students from Marcus's list and preparing for what she called the reckoning. But Maya helped her mother create presentation boards with photos of former scholarship students and their stories. "The Legacy Gala is tomorrow night," Patricia said on Friday evening. "Are you sure you're okay with staying home?" This might get unpleasant. Maya nodded. "I'll watch from here. The important thing is that people hear the truth." On Saturday evening, the Westfield Academy campus was transformed. Luxury cars lined the circular driveway as wealthy donors and alumni arrived in formal attire. Inside the grand hall, waiters carried champagne on silver trays while a string quartet played softly in the corner. Richard Thompson, board chairman and Blake's father, stood on a small stage welcoming guests. Principal Wilson smiled beside him, shaking hands with important donors. "Westfield Academy stands for excellence," Richard was saying. "Our proud heritage of producing leaders goes back generations. Many of you in this room are part of that heritage." At precisely 7:30, the double doors at the back of the hall opened. Patricia Johnson walked in, wearing her battle suit, a crimson blazer she reserved for important court cases. Behind her stood 7 former minority scholarship students in formal attire. In the back, local news reporters with cameras moved into position. A confused murmur rippled through the crowd as Patricia walked directly toward the stage. Richard Thompson stopped mid-sentence, his face darkening when he recognized her. "This is a private event," he said into the microphone. "Security, please." Patricia didn't stop walking. "I believe you invited scholarship families to be recognized tonight," she said loudly. "We're here to be recognized." She reached the stage and turned to address the crowd. "Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Patricia Johnson. My daughter Maya is a current scholarship student at Westfield." She gestured to the former students behind her. "These are also Westfield scholarship students, or they were until they were pushed out for reporting harassment and discrimination." The room fell silent. Cameras began recording. For decades, Westfield Academy has admitted minority scholarship students to bolster diversity statistics, then systematically removed them before graduation. Patricia continued, "I have evidence of a group called Scholarship Hunters, where wealthy students targeted scholarship recipients with administration knowledge." Richard Thompson stepped forward. "This is outrageous. Security, remove this woman immediately." 2 security guards moved uncertainly toward Patricia. Marcus Washington stepped forward from the crowd. "Let her speak, Richard. Everyone here deserves to know the truth about Westfield." As the security guards hesitated, Patricia projected screenshots from the Scholarship Hunters group on the wall. Messages from Blake and his friends filled the screen, along with responses from alumni congratulating them on keeping up the tradition. Gasps echoed through the hall. One message from Richard Thompson himself read, "Proud of you, son. Some traditions shouldn't die." Cameras flashed as reporters captured everything. Richard lunged toward Patricia, grabbing for her phone. Marcus stepped between them as chaos erupted. "This is the real legacy of Westfield Academy," Patricia said into the microphone. "Discrimination hidden behind ivy walls and tradition." Back at their apartment, Maya watched the scene unfold on local news live streams. Her phone buzzed constantly with messages from classmates who were either horrified or supportive of what they were seeing. The next morning, Maya found her mother in the kitchen making coffee, looking tired but satisfied. "It's all over the news," Patricia said. "The school board is calling an emergency meeting. Superintendent Foster is getting involved." "Do you think anything will really change?" Maya asked. "Yes," Patricia said confidently, "because now everyone is watching." When Maya arrived at school on Monday morning, she stopped in shock at the main entrance. Her locker had been completely destroyed, bent and twisted, with "dead" spray-painted across it. Before she could react, she noticed something else. Dozens of students were gathering around her, forming a protective circle. Many of them weren't scholarship students. Many came from wealthy families. But all of them wore shirts or pins reading, "I stand with Maya" or "End discrimination at Westfield." Tyler Washington stepped forward. "We're with you," he said simply. Then, to Maya's complete surprise, Emma Sullivan pushed through the crowd. She was no longer with Blake's group. Instead, she wore one of the handmade "I Stand with Maya" shirts. "I'm sorry it took me so long to do the right thing," Emma said, loud enough for everyone to hear. The school intercom crackled to life. Principal Wilson's voice sounded strained. "All students report to the auditorium immediately for an emergency assembly. The superintendent of schools has just arrived on campus." Students filed into the auditorium in tense silence. Maya noticed they naturally separated into two groups, her supporters on the left side, Blake's friends and allies on the right. The middle seats remained mostly empty, like a physical divide between two worlds. On the stage stood a woman Maya didn't recognize, dressed in a navy blue suit. Principal Wilson sat uncomfortably to her side, his usual confident posture replaced by a stiff, nervous stance. "Good morning, students," the woman began once everyone was seated. "I am Dr. Caroline Foster, Superintendent of Greenwich School District. I'm here because serious allegations have been made about Westfield Academy." She paused, scanning the room. "The events at Saturday's Legacy Gala have been reported in national news. The evidence presented by Mrs. Johnson regarding systematic discrimination against minority scholarship students requires immediate action." Blake and his friends shifted uneasily in their seats. Maya could see Tyler Washington nodding from the front row of her supporters. "Effective immediately," Dr. Foster continued, "Principal Wilson will be placed on administrative leave pending a complete investigation." Gasps and whispers spread through the auditorium. Principal Wilson stared straight ahead, his face expressionless. Dr. Lisa Chen, currently vice principal at Greenwich High School, will serve as interim principal during this period. Dr. Foster gestured to an Asian American woman who stood up from the front row. "Dr. Chen has extensive experience in educational equity and school culture transformation." Dr. Chen stepped onto the stage. "Thank you, Dr. Foster. Students, I know this is a difficult time for Westfield. My goal is to ensure every student feels safe, respected, and valued while we work through this process." After the assembly ended, students exited in the same divided manner they had entered. Maya heard whispers as she walked to her first class. "Did you see Wilson's face when they announced administrative leave? Blake's totally getting expelled. I heard his dad resigned from the board last night." When Maya reached her physics class, the teacher handed her a note. "The investigators want to see you during your free period. They're set up in the conference room." News vans lined the street outside Westfield's gates. Reporters stood filming their segments with the school's ivy-covered buildings in the background. The scandal had officially gone national. That afternoon, Maya sat across from two professional-looking women in the conference room. They introduced themselves as independent investigators hired by the school board. "Maya, we've reviewed the evidence your mother provided," the first investigator said. "We'd like to hear directly from you about your experiences at Westfield." For the next hour, Maya described everything, from the daily small comments about her clothes to Blake's public humiliation, the vandalized locker and the stolen lab report. The investigators recorded everything, occasionally asking clarifying questions. "Thank you for your courage," the second investigator said when they finished. "We're speaking with many current and former students. Your testimony helps establish the pattern." When Maya returned home that afternoon, she found her mother surrounded by ringing phones. News vans were parked outside their apartment building in Bridgeport. "The Equal Education Alliance is handling media requests," Patricia explained, hanging up one phone as another started ringing. "The story has gone national. I've received calls from 3 civil rights organizations offering support." Maya looked out the window at the news vans. "I never wanted all this attention." "I know, sweetie," Patricia said, putting her arm around Maya's shoulders. "But sometimes the only way to fix a broken system is to expose it to the light." The next day at school, Maya noticed a complete shift in atmosphere. Some teachers who had previously ignored the bullying now made special efforts to check on her. Others avoided eye contact entirely, perhaps worried about their own complicity. Ms. Reynolds pulled Maya aside after English class. "How are you holding up with all this attention?" "It's overwhelming," Maya admitted. "I want you to know I'm helping you catch up on any assignments you missed during this chaos," Ms. Reynolds said. "Your education shouldn't suffer because you stood up for what's right." In the cafeteria, Maya noticed Blake sitting alone. His usual group of friends had dispersed to other tables. Some looked uncomfortable when he tried to join them. The social king had lost his crown overnight. Emma approached Maya's table, where she sat with Zoe and the other scholarship students. "The investigators interviewed me for 3 hours yesterday," Emma said, sitting down cautiously. "I gave them everything. All the screenshots, the names of administrators who knew about the group, everything." "Thank you," Maya said sincerely. Emma looked down at her lunch tray. "I should have done it sooner. I kept telling myself I wasn't actually participating, so I wasn't responsible. But watching and saying nothing made me part of it too." After school, Marcus Washington called Patricia with an update. Maya could hear her mother's excited voice from the kitchen. "Richard Thompson resigned from the board?" Patricia repeated. "That's a huge step forward." When she hung up, Patricia explained to Maya, "The board had an emergency meeting last night. Marcus led a faction demanding Richard's resignation. With the public pressure and evidence, Richard had no choice but to step down." "What about Blake?" Maya asked. "He's facing an expulsion hearing tomorrow," Patricia said, along with 3 other students who were most active in the harassment. That evening, Patricia received a surprising email. "Maya, come look at this," she called from her laptop. The email was from Jennifer Roth, mother of a sophomore named Rachel. "My daughter isn't a scholarship student," the email read. "We pay full tuition, but Rachel has dyslexia, and she's been tormented by the same group of students who targeted Maya. When she reported it, administrators suggested she was too sensitive for Westfield's environment. I'd like to speak with you about joining your efforts." Similar emails followed. Parents of students with learning disabilities, religious minorities, and LGBTQ+ identities, all describing patterns of bullying that administration had dismissed or ignored. This is bigger than just scholarship students, Patricia realized. Westfield has a culture problem with anyone they consider different. The next morning, Dr. Chen, the interim principal, requested a meeting with Maya and Patricia. "I want to thank you both for bringing these issues to light," Dr. Chen said once they were seated in what had been Principal Wilson's office. The pictures of all white distinguished alumni had already been removed from the walls. "The independent investigation is revealing a disturbing pattern that goes back decades," Dr. Chen continued. "I'd like your input on necessary reforms. You have unique insight as both targets and advocates." Maya straightened in her chair. "I think we need a student-led diversity and inclusion committee with real authority, not just a club that makes posters." Dr. Chen nodded, taking notes. "What else?" "Anonymous reporting systems that are actually reviewed," Maya continued, "and mandatory training for faculty on how to recognize and stop discrimination." "Excellent suggestions," Dr. Chen said. "Mrs. Johnson, would you be interested in joining our school board? We have an opening with Mr. Thompson's resignation." Patricia considered this. "I think I could be more effective as part of an advisory committee focused directly on student welfare. The legal case will take much of my attention." "Of course," Dr. Chen nodded. "The class action lawsuit is proceeding?" "Yes," Patricia confirmed. "We now represent 32 former students whose educations and future opportunities were damaged by Westfield's practices." Later that day, Tyler Washington organized a student forum during lunch period. The cafeteria was rearranged with chairs in a circle. Students from different backgrounds took turns speaking about their experiences. "I never said anything because I was afraid of losing my place on the basketball team," one senior boy admitted. "I saw how they treated the scholarship kids, but I stayed quiet. My family has gone to Westfield for 3 generations. a girl from a wealthy family, said, "I always thought that meant the school was perfect. Now I realize tradition isn't always good." Maya listened, amazed at how quickly things were changing. Students who had never spoken to each other were now having honest conversations about privilege and pain. That evening, Maya checked her phone and found a notification that made her heart race. The Westfield Truth Project website had launched, featuring testimonials from alumni across decades sharing similar experiences of discrimination. "This has been happening for 50 years, Maya told her mother, scrolling through the stories. "Some of these people are grandparents now." Patricia nodded solemnly. "Systems don't change easily, but they do change when enough people demand it." As they were talking, Maya's phone buzzed with a breaking news alert. The headline read, "Westfield Academy Board votes unanimously to accept all recommendations from independent investigation." Under the headline was a photo of Marcus Washington, newly elected as board chairman, shaking hands with Dr. Chen. The caption read, "New leadership promises transformation at elite school rocked by discrimination scandal." Just as Maya was showing the news to her mother, an email notification appeared on her screen. Her eyes widened when she saw the subject line, "Final Investigation Report, Confidential." Dr. Chen had sent Maya an advance copy of the report before its public release. As Maya scrolled through the document, she stopped suddenly at a section titled Financial Evidence. "Mom," she said, her voice shaking slightly, "you need to see this. They found a hidden endowment fund specifically designated for scholarship student transition support. They had money set aside specifically to push minority students out before graduation." Patricia stared at the screen, her attorney's mind immediately grasping the significance of what they'd found. "This is the smoking gun," she said, scrolling through the financial records. "They actually budgeted money specifically to remove minority students before graduation." "What does transition support even mean?" Maya asked. "According to these notes," Patricia said, pointing at a section of the document, "it covered costs for hiring tutors to help struggling students transfer to other schools, processing paperwork for scholarship revocations, and even payments to educational consultants who helped justify removing students." The next morning, crowds of reporters gathered outside Westfield Academy as Dr. Foster called a press conference on the front steps. Television cameras from national news networks pointed at the podium where she stood with Dr. Chen and Marcus Washington. The independent investigation findings confirm systematic discrimination at Westfield Academy spanning decades, Dr. Foster announced. The discovery of a special fund designated to remove minority scholarship students before graduation proves this was institutional policy, not isolated incidents. Camera flashes lit up the morning as reporters shouted questions. "What actions are being taken against administrators who knew about this?" one reporter asked. "Principal Wilson has submitted his resignation," Dr. Foster replied. "2 other administrators have been placed on permanent leave pending further investigation." "Will Blake Thompson and other students involved be expelled?" another reporter called out. Marcus Washington stepped forward. "The disciplinary committee has reviewed the evidence. 4 students have received official expulsion notices for their direct involvement in targeted harassment." Inside the school, Maya watched the press conference on a classroom television with other students. The atmosphere was solemn as Dr. Foster detailed the investigation's findings. "They actually had a written policy," one student whispered in disbelief. "How did they think they'd get away with this forever?" "Because they always did," Tyler Washington replied from the seat beside Maya. "Until now." After the press conference, Maya walked to her first class. Students parted to let her through, some offering supportive nods, others looking away uncomfortably. The division between students who supported change and those who resisted it remained visible, but the lines were shifting daily. In English class, Ms. Reynolds announced a new curriculum unit. "In light of recent events, we'll be studying ethical leadership and the responsibility to speak up against injustice," she said, handing out new reading materials. During lunch, Maya sat with Zoe and their growing group of friends from various backgrounds. Emma Sullivan joined them, still somewhat hesitant but welcomed by the others. "Blake's parents hired lawyers to fight his expulsion," Emma said quietly. "They're claiming he was just following school traditions and didn't understand the harm." "Did he say that in his disciplinary hearing?" Maya asked. Emma nodded. "He tried to blame it on his father's pressure to uphold Westfield traditions. But then they showed him the messages where he bragged about making you cry. He couldn't explain that away." That afternoon, a group of 7 long-serving teachers approached Dr. Chen's office. They carried a formal letter signed by 23 faculty members. "We wish to acknowledge our role in allowing discrimination to continue at Westfield through our silence," their spokesperson read aloud as Dr. Chen received the letter. "While we may not have actively participated, our failure to intervene when we witnessed bullying makes us complicit. We are committed to creating a truly inclusive educational environment moving forward." Back at home, Patricia's phone rang constantly with calls from former students wanting to join the lawsuit and reporters seeking comments. Maya watched her mother transform from concerned parent to powerful advocate, organizing conference calls with attorneys and plaintiffs. "The settlement discussions have begun," Patricia told Maya after one such call. "Westfield's insurance company is pushing for a quick resolution to limit the damage to the school's reputation." "What do the former students want?" Maya asked. "Different things," Patricia replied. "Some want financial compensation for the educational opportunities they lost. Others want official Westfield diplomas to replace the ones they were denied. Most importantly, everyone wants systemic change, so this doesn't happen to future students." The next day at school, Dr. Chen called an all-staff meeting to announce immediate policy changes. "We're implementing an anonymous reporting system for any incidents of discrimination or bullying," she informed the faculty. "Every report will be documented and investigated by a committee that includes student representatives." She continued with more changes. "All staff will complete mandatory bias training before the end of the month. The scholarship program will be renamed the Excellence Initiative to remove stigma from financial aid, and we're creating a new mentorship program pairing incoming scholarship students with supportive upperclassmen." When Maya entered the cafeteria for lunch, she found Tyler standing on a chair addressing a large group of students. "The student council elections are next week," he announced. "For the first time, we'll have reserved positions for scholarship students to ensure all voices are heard. If you want to help rebuild Westfield's culture, consider running." Several students approached Maya after Tyler's announcement. "You should run for president," one sophomore girl suggested. "Everyone respects you after what you did." Maya shook her head. "I think I can help more on the diversity committee." Tyler would make a better president. Later that day, Maya received a surprising email from a student at Phillips Exeter Academy, another prestigious private school in New Hampshire. "We've been following your story," the email read. "The same things happen here, but nobody talks about it. Can you share how you got the administration to listen?" Similar messages followed from students at private schools across the country. Maya realized their situation at Westfield was just one example of a much wider problem. That evening, Maya sat at her kitchen table surrounded by homework assignments she'd fallen behind on during the tumult of recent events. Ms. Reynolds had helped her create a schedule to catch up while maintaining her perfect grades. "I got another call from the Washington Post today," Patricia said, entering the kitchen. "They want to do a feature story about the case. Their education reporter is calling it the Westfield Model. How one student's stand against discrimination transformed an entire institution." Maya looked up from her physics problems. "I'm not sure how I feel about being some kind of symbol." Patricia sat down beside her daughter. "You're not a symbol, Maya. You're a 16-year-old girl who refused to accept injustice. That's all anyone should ever have to be." A notification popped up on Patricia's laptop, an email from Dr. Chen with the subject, "School Board Decision." She opened it quickly. The board voted unanimously to accept all our recommended changes, Patricia read aloud, relief evident in her voice. They're also establishing a scholarship fund for the former students who were pushed out to support their continuing education. Maya smiled, feeling a small sense of victory. That's a start. The next morning, as Maya entered Westfield, she noticed workers removing the old alumni photos from the main hallway. In their place were new frames containing a diverse collection of graduate pictures from across the decades. "We found these in the archives, Doctor," Chen explained, seeing Maya's surprise. "Westfield has had accomplished graduates of all backgrounds, but the previous administration chose to highlight only certain ones. We're correcting that oversight." During her free period, Maya visited the library and found a group of freshmen huddled around a table. They looked up nervously when they saw her. "Are you Maya Johnson?" one girl asked shyly. Maya nodded. "We're all new scholarship students," the girl explained. "We wanted to thank you. Our orientation packet included information about the mentorship program and resources for reporting any problems. They told us it was because of you." That afternoon, Dr. Chen found Maya in the hallway. "Maya, I wanted to let you know that Blake's expulsion has been finalized. His family is moving to Connecticut. The other 3 students are also leaving Westfield." "What about Principal Wilson?" Maya asked. "He's taken a position at a private school in another state," Dr. Chen said. "But the educational community is small. The truth about what happened here will follow him." As Maya was preparing to leave school, her phone buzzed with a new email. The subject line made her freeze. "Can we talk?" It was from Blake Thompson. "I know you probably hate me and you should," the email began. "My family is moving next week. Before I go, I'd like to apologize to you in person. I understand if you say no." Maya stared at the screen, unsure how to respond. Part of her wanted to delete the email immediately. Another part wondered if this was a chance for real closure. That evening, she showed the email to her mother. "It's completely your decision," Patricia said. "You don't owe him anything, including forgiveness." "I know," Maya replied, "but maybe I need to hear what he has to say. For myself." She typed a careful response. "I'll meet you at the Starbucks on Main Street tomorrow after school. Public place, 20 minutes only." Within seconds, a reply came back. "Thank you. I'll be there." Maya arrived at Starbucks 15 minutes early, choosing a table with a clear view of the door and other customers nearby. Her mother had offered to wait in the parking lot, but Maya had decided to face this conversation alone. At exactly 3:30, Blake Thompson walked in. He looked different, less confident, his expensive clothes seeming too large for his frame. His eyes darted around the coffee shop until he spotted Maya. "Thank you for coming," Blake said, sitting down across from her. He placed his hands flat on the table, then quickly withdrew them to his lap. "I wasn't sure you would." "I almost didn't," Maya replied honestly. An uncomfortable silence stretched between them. Blake cleared his throat. "I'm sorry," he finally said, "for everything I did to you, for the names I called you, for knocking down your books, for stealing your lab report." "And for the group chat?" Maya asked. "For targeting scholarship students for years? For getting your friends to vandalize my locker?" Blake looked down. "Yes, for all of it." "Why did you do it?" Maya asked, the question she'd been wanting to ask for months. Blake struggled visibly with his answer. It was just what we did. My father told me about how they used to mess with scholarship kids when he was at Westfield. He said it was tradition, that it taught people to know their place." "Their place?" Maya repeated. "I know how that sounds now," Blake said quickly. "But at Westfield, everything is about your place. Which family you come from, how much money they donated, what your last name means. My father expected me to maintain the Thompson status. When my basketball performance started slipping junior year, I felt like I was letting him down." "So you bullied others to feel better?" Blake flinched. "I didn't think of it as bullying. We called it initiation or tradition. Looking back, I can't believe I didn't see it for what it was." Maya studied his face. Do you actually understand how much your tradition hurt people? How many students left Westfield because of what you and your friends did?" "I'm trying to," Blake admitted. "My parents are making me see a therapist now. He's making me think about stuff I never considered before." He paused. "I know saying sorry isn't enough." "You're right, it's not," Maya said firmly. "But what you do next matters more than your apology. How will you treat people at your new school?" Blake looked surprised at the question. I don't know. Different, I guess." "That's not good enough," Maya said. "You need to actively do better, not just be passively different." Blake nodded slowly. "You're right. I want to do better." As they parted ways, Blake stopped at the door. "Thank you for listening. I don't deserve it, but I appreciate it." Maya watched him leave, feeling neither forgiveness nor anger, just a quiet recognition that people could change, even if it came too late for some. The next morning at Westfield, Dr. Chen held the first meeting of the Student Committee for Institutional Change. Maya, Tyler, and 12 other students from diverse backgrounds sat around the conference table. "The settlement negotiations with former students are progressing," Dr. Chen explained. "But beyond financial compensation, we need to implement real structural changes." "We should rename the scholarship program," Maya suggested. "The way everyone calls us scholarship students makes it sound like a label, not an achievement." "Excellent point," Dr. Chen agreed, making notes. "What would you suggest instead?" "The Excellence Initiative," Tyler proposed. "Because that's what it actually is, recognizing excellence in students regardless of financial background." Dr. Chen smiled. "I like that very much. What else?" "A mentorship program," Zoe added. "Pairing incoming Excellence Initiative students with supportive upperclassmen who can help them navigate Westfield." For the next hour, the committee outlined changes from curriculum updates to new reporting systems for harassment. Maya felt a sense of purpose she'd never experienced before. Later that day, Patricia called with news about the lawsuit. "The board has agreed to our settlement terms," she said excitedly. "Financial compensation for all 32 former students plus funding for educational remediation and therapy for those most affected." "What about the current students?" Maya asked. "Complete reform of the scholarship program with legal protections against discrimination," Patricia confirmed. "And they're offering honorary Westfield diplomas to everyone who was pushed out unfairly." That afternoon, Maya witnessed something she never thought she'd see. A group of former scholarship students who had been forced out of Westfield years ago walked through the front gates, invited back by Dr. Chen for a healing conversation. Jasmine Taylor, who had left 2 years earlier after being falsely accused of cheating, looked around the hallways with tears in her eyes. "I never thought I'd come back here," she told Maya. "I had nightmares about this place for months after I left." The former students met with Dr. Chen and the committee, sharing their experiences and suggestions for change. Some were angry, others tearful, but all seemed moved by the opportunity to finally be heard. "When I was accused of plagiarism after reporting harassment, no one believed me," Darius Williams, who had left in 2019, explained. "It affected my college applications. I lost a chance at Princeton. We can't undo the harm," Dr. Chen acknowledged, "but we can learn from it and ensure it never happens again." At the end of the meeting, Jasmine approached Maya. "Thank you," she said simply. "What you and your mother did, it was brave." In the weeks that followed, Westfield transformed visibly. The rigid social hierarchy that had defined the school for generations began dissolving as students formed new friendships across previous boundaries. In the cafeteria, tables once strictly divided by social status now featured mixed groups. Students who had never spoken to each other engaged in conversations about their shared experiences. During a board meeting, Dr. Chen officially offered Patricia a position as a member. Patricia considered it carefully before declining. "I think I can be more effective as part of an advisory committee with more direct student contact," she explained. "The legal case will continue to require much of my attention, but I want to help implement the changes we've fought for." Instead, Patricia joined the newly formed Parent-Student Advisory Council, working directly with students who had experienced discrimination to ensure their voices shaped Westfield's future. In English class, Ms. Reynolds introduced a new curriculum unit she had developed on ethical leadership. "Today we'll discuss the concept of speaking truth to power," she announced. "Maya, would you be willing to share your experience with the class?" Maya hesitantly agreed. Standing before her classmates, she described how it felt to be targeted because of her scholarship status and race, and how finding allies had given her the strength to speak up. When she finished, the class gave her a standing ovation. Even students who had once laughed at Blake's jokes now applauded Maya's courage. After class, Maya checked her email and found a message that made her heart race. The National Education Equity Conference wanted her to deliver a keynote speech about her experience at Westfield and the changes she had helped create. "They want me to speak to educators from across the country," Maya told Ms. Reynolds, her voice shaking with disbelief. "Of course they do," Ms. Reynolds smiled. "Your story has already inspired students at other schools to speak up about similar issues. Educators need to hear it too." Despite all the changes and new responsibilities, Maya maintained her focus on academics. When semester grades were posted, she had maintained her perfect 4.0 GPA. "I'm so proud of you," Patricia said during a celebration dinner at their apartment. "Not just for your grades, but for your strength and leadership through all of this." Maya smiled, feeling a sense of accomplishment that went beyond academics. "I couldn't have done it without you, Mom. You taught me to stand up for what's right." The next day at school, Maya noticed a new student in her physics class. A quiet girl with worn but carefully maintained clothes who sat in the back corner. Maya recognized herself from a year ago in the girl's cautious posture and watchful eyes. After class, Maya approached her. "Hi, I'm Maya Johnson. You're new here, right?" The girl nodded. "Samantha Rogers. I just got accepted to the EXC." She hesitated, as if unsure of the term. "The Excellence Initiative," Maya finished for her. "That's great. I'm part of it too. Would you like me to show you around campus?" Samantha smiled with relief. "That would be really nice. Thank you." As they walked through the hallways, Maya pointed out resources and introduced Samantha to other students. The Westfield that Samantha was experiencing was fundamentally different from the one Maya had entered a year earlier. That evening, Maya worked on drafting her keynote speech for the National Education Equity Conference with Ms. Reynolds' guidance. "Start with your truth," Ms. Reynolds suggested. "That's what people need to hear most." As Maya typed, her phone buzzed with a news alert. She clicked on it to find a small article about Blake Thompson. He had enrolled in a public school in Arizona and started volunteering at a community center working with underprivileged youth. Maya stared at the screen, surprised. Maybe their conversation had made more impact than she realized. Maybe people really could change when forced to confront the consequences of their actions. She returned to her speech, typing with renewed purpose. "My name is Maya Johnson, and this is the story of how one school's discrimination became the catalyst for transformation. It's not just about what was wrong, but about how we can make things right." Maya continued working on her speech late into the night, trying to find the right words to describe Westfield's transformation. It wasn't just about exposing problems, it was about creating real solutions. The following weeks at Westfield Academy felt different. With expulsions finalized and new leadership in place, the school began the difficult work of rebuilding trust. Dr. Chen called a special assembly to announce the official changes that would reshape Westfield. "Today marks the beginning of a new chapter for our school," she said, standing confidently at the podium. "The Board of Trustees has unanimously approved all recommendations from the student committee." She listed the changes. First, our scholarship program will now be called the Excellence Initiative, recognizing that financial aid is about supporting exceptional students, not creating a separate class within our community. Students applauded, especially those who had previously felt labeled by the term scholarship student. Second, we're implementing a new mentorship program pairing incoming Excellence Initiative students with supportive upperclassmen. Third, we've created a robust reporting system for any incidents of discrimination, with clear consequences and oversight. After the assembly, Maya joined Zoe and other committee members to plan the mentorship program. "We should create a welcome packet," Maya suggested, "something that explains all the resources available and includes contact information for mentors." "And maybe regular group activities," Tyler added, "so new students don't feel isolated." Meanwhile, Patricia continued working with David Cohen on the lawsuit settlement. The negotiations had reached their final stages, with Westfield's insurance company pushing to resolve the case quickly. "They've agreed to all our terms," Patricia told Maya one evening. "Financial compensation, retroactive diplomas, and most importantly, legally binding commitments to maintain the new anti-discrimination policies." "Do you think it will really stick?" Maya asked. "Once the attention dies down?" "That's why we insisted on independent oversight for 5 years," Patricia explained. "A committee of education experts will review Westfield's practices annually and publish their findings." At school, Maya noticed how the physical spaces were changing. The hallways featured new artwork from students of all backgrounds. The previously intimidating trophy cases now included recognition for academic achievements, alongside sports victories. Even the cafeteria had been rearranged with round tables instead of long rectangular ones, making it harder for exclusive groups to form. One morning, Dr. Chen approached Maya between classes. "Maya, I'd like your help with something important. We're welcoming back former scholarship students this weekend for a special ceremony. They'll receive honorary Westfield diplomas to replace the opportunities they were denied." "I'd be happy to help," Maya replied. "Some of them are still angry," Dr. Chen warned. "They have every right to be. But your story might help them see that their suffering has led to meaningful change." That Saturday, Maya stood in Westfield's auditorium watching former students walk across the stage to receive the diplomas they had been unfairly denied. Some cried, others looked solemn. A few seemed uncomfortable being back in the building that had caused them pain. Jasmine Taylor, who had been accused of cheating after reporting harassment, approached Maya after the ceremony. "This doesn't fix everything," Jasmine said, holding her new diploma. "But it helps. Knowing that what happened to me won't happen to others, that matters." In Ms. Reynolds' English class, students were deep into the new curriculum unit on ethical leadership. Today, they were discussing how institutions could rebuild trust after serious failures. "What do you think is the most important element in rebuilding trust?" Ms. Reynolds asked the class. After a moment of silence, Emma Sullivan raised her hand. "I think it's showing that you really understand what went wrong. Not just saying sorry, but proving you get why something was harmful." Ms. Reynolds nodded. "Excellent point, Emma. Anyone else?" "Actions matter more than words," Maya added. "Westfield isn't just saying they value diversity now. They're creating specific programs and policies to show it." After class, a sophomore named Rachel Roth approached Maya. "My mom contacted your mother a few weeks ago," she explained. "I have dyslexia, and Blake's group used to make fun of me for getting extra time on tests. They called me slow and said I was cheating." "I'm sorry that happened to you," Maya said. "The new reporting system has already helped," Rachel continued. "When someone made a comment last week, I reported it, and Dr. Chen handled it immediately. They had to attend education sessions about learning differences." That evening, Patricia returned home from a meeting with the Parent-Student Advisory Council looking pleased. "We've approved funding for the new initiative," she told Maya excitedly. "Starting next semester, Westfield will offer Saturday workshops for students from public schools in Bridgeport who want to prepare for college. Westfield students will serve as tutors and mentors." "That's amazing," Maya said. "Reaching beyond just fixing Westfield." "It was Marcus Washington's idea," Patricia explained. He said true change means not just fixing problems inside the walls, but breaking down the walls entirely. As the semester progressed, Maya divided her time between academics, committee work, and preparing for her keynote speech. Despite everything, she maintained her perfect grades, something that now felt important not just for her own future, but to prove that Excellence Initiative students truly deserved their place at Westfield. One afternoon, Maya found Samantha Rogers, the new Excellence Initiative student she had befriended, waiting outside her classroom. "I wanted to thank you," Samantha said shyly. "My mentor showed me the old Westfield handbook from last year. The differences between then and now are huge." "How are things going for you?" Maya asked. "Good," Samantha replied with genuine enthusiasm. "Nothing like what you went through." When I tell people I'm part of the Excellence Initiative, they're actually impressed, not judgmental. The lawsuit settlement was finally announced in early December. Patricia explained the details to Maya over dinner. Each former student will receive financial compensation based on the impact to their education and career, she said. The total settlement is $3 million, plus the cost of the new oversight committee and programs. "That's a lot of money," Maya observed. "It is," Patricia agreed. "But the most valuable part isn't the money. It's the legally binding agreement to maintain all the new policies and programs for at least 20 years. As winter break approached, Maya finished her keynote speech for the National Education Equity Conference, which would be held in Washington, D.C. in January. Ms. Reynolds had helped her refine it until it powerfully captured both the problems she had faced and the solutions Westfield had implemented. "You're going to change how other schools approach these issues," Ms. Reynolds told her after reviewing the final draft. "Your experience will help educators understand what students need." On the last day before break, Dr. Chen called a small meeting with Maya, Tyler, Zoe, and other student leaders. "I've been offered the permanent position as Westfield's principal," she announced. "I wanted to ask for your input before I accept." "You should definitely stay," Tyler said immediately. "You've done more in a few months than Wilson did in years." "What about all of you, Doctor?" Chen asked. "How are you feeling about Westfield now?" Maya considered the question carefully. 6 months ago, I was afraid to walk these hallways. I felt like an outsider in a place where I had earned my spot. Now I feel like I belong here, not because the school changed to accept me, but because we changed the school to be what it should have been all along. Zoe nodded in agreement. "It's still not perfect, but now when problems happen, they get addressed, not ignored." After the meeting, Maya walked through Westfield's hallways, noticing how different they felt from the previous year. Students from various backgrounds talked together easily. The invisible boundaries that had once divided the school were fading. As she passed the main office, she saw Westfield's new mission statement prominently displayed: "Excellence through inclusion, honoring every student's potential." The words weren't just empty rhetoric anymore. They reflected the real changes happening throughout the school. Changes that Maya had helped create through her courage to speak up and her determination to make Westfield better, not just for herself but for everyone who would come after her. That night, Maya received an email that made her pause. It was from a student at Phillips Academy in Massachusetts. "Your story inspired me to speak up about discrimination at my school. The administration is finally listening. Can you share advice on what worked best at Westfield?" Maya smiled as she began typing her response, realizing that Westfield's transformation was becoming a model for other schools facing similar issues. The change she had helped start was spreading far beyond Greenwich, Connecticut. Maya finished her email to the Phillips Academy student, offering advice about building coalitions and documenting incidents. As she clicked send, she realized how far Westfield had come in just 6 months. What had started as her personal nightmare had transformed into a model for educational change. The January morning of the National Education Equity Conference in Washington, D.C. arrived with a light snowfall. Maya stood backstage, reviewing her note cards one last time. 5 minutes until you're on, the event coordinator told her. Patricia adjusted Maya's blazer collar. Are you nervous? A little, Maya admitted. There are over 500 educators out there. Just speak your truth, Patricia said. That's all anyone needs to hear. When Maya stepped onto the stage, the bright lights momentarily blinded her. She took a deep breath and began. 6 months ago, I was a 16-year-old black scholarship student at one of America's most prestigious private schools. I was bullied, harassed, and told I didn't belong there. Today, I stand before you to share how that same school transformed from a place of discrimination to a community of genuine inclusion. For the next 20 minutes, Maya described Westfield's journey, the painful exposure of systemic discrimination, the resistance from those who benefited from the old system, and the collaborative work that created lasting change. The most important lesson we learned, Maya concluded, is that changing policies isn't enough. You must change culture. At Westfield, that meant examining traditions we took for granted, questioning who our heroes were, and redefining what excellence truly means. The audience rose in a standing ovation. Educators lined up afterward to ask questions and share similar concerns from their own schools. Your speech was featured on the National Education Association website, Patricia told Maya during their flight back to Connecticut. Schools across the country are requesting information about Westfield's reforms. When they returned home, Maya found an official-looking envelope in their mailbox. Her hands trembled slightly as she opened it. "Mom," she called out. "It's from MIT, early admission." Patricia rushed over, reading the acceptance letter over Maya's shoulder. "You did it! Your first choice!" "We did it," Maya corrected her. "I wouldn't have made it through this year without you." The spring semester at Westfield began with a much different atmosphere than the previous year. The physical campus looked the same: ivy-covered brick buildings and manicured lawns. But the culture had fundamentally changed. On the first day back, Maya led a tour for 3 new Excellence Initiative students. "This is the Resource Center," she explained, showing them a newly renovated space. "You can meet with tutors here or just study quietly. Ms. Reynolds is usually available during lunch periods if you need help with assignments." One new student, Michael Chen, looked around nervously. "Is it true there used to be bullying here?" "My parents were worried about that." "There was," Maya said honestly. "But we've worked hard to change things. Now we have clear reporting systems and consequences for harassment. If anyone bothers you, there are many people you can talk to, including me." In the main hallway, the administration had installed a large digital display featuring profiles of distinguished alumni from diverse backgrounds. Currently, it showed Jessica Rodriguez, class of 2000, who had become a respected neurosurgeon. Dr. Chen had been officially appointed as permanent principal after the board voted unanimously to support her. Under her leadership, Westfield continued implementing the changes that had begun during the crisis. In February, Maya and Zoe organized the first formal training for student mentors. "Your role isn't just to show new students around," Maya told the 20 volunteers. "It's to make sure they never feel alone here." Everyone deserves to feel they belong at Westfield. The mentorship program paired every incoming Excellence Initiative student with 2 upperclassmen, one who was also part of the initiative and one who wasn't. This deliberate mixing helped break down the social barriers that had previously divided the school. News about the Thompsons occasionally reached Westfield. Richard Thompson had taken a position with a financial firm in Arizona, far from the scandal that had tarnished his reputation in Connecticut. According to Emma, who still occasionally texted with Blake, he was adjusting to public school and continuing his volunteer work with community organizations. "He seems different," Emma told Maya during lunch one day. "More humble. He said the volunteer work was supposed to be community service for his expulsion, but he actually likes it now." "People can change when they have to," Maya responded. "I'm glad he's finding a better path." The Westfield Truth Project website had become a national resource for schools addressing discrimination. Former students continued sharing their experiences, creating an archive that spanned 50 years of Westfield's history. In March, the Saturday workshops for Bridgeport Public School students began. Maya volunteered as a tutor, helping high schoolers prepare for college entrance exams. "I never thought I'd get to visit Westfield," one Bridgeport student told her. "My cousin applied here 5 years ago and felt so unwelcome during his interview that he withdrew his application." "Things are different now," Maya assured him. "The new admissions team is focusing on finding students with potential from all backgrounds." The lawsuit settlement had made national headlines, with educational experts calling it a landmark case for private school accountability. Patricia had become a sought-after speaker on educational equity, balancing her regular legal practice with this new advocacy role. "The money matters," Patricia explained during a panel discussion that Maya attended, "but the oversight committee is what will ensure lasting change. For the next 20 years, Westfield must demonstrate continued commitment to inclusive practices or face significant penalties." By April, Maya had become so busy with her various responsibilities that Ms. Reynolds had to remind her to maintain balance. "Your advocacy is important," Ms. Reynolds said after class one day, "but don't forget to take care of yourself too." "I'm trying," Maya smiled. "But there's still so much work to do." "Yes, but now you're not doing it alone," Ms. Reynolds pointed out. "Look around." She was right. Throughout Westfield, students and faculty were taking initiative on inclusion projects. The photography club was creating a documentary about the school's transformation. The debate team had organized forums on educational equity. Even the student newspaper, once filled with social gossip, now regularly published thoughtful articles about creating positive school culture. In May, as the school year neared its end, Dr. Chen asked Maya to speak at the orientation for incoming freshmen. They should hear about both the old Westfield and the new one. Dr. Chen explained, "Your perspective is invaluable." On orientation day, Maya stood before 100 incoming students and their parents. Looking out at their faces, diverse in race, ethnicity, and economic background, she felt a surge of pride in how far they had come. "A year ago, I stood where you're sitting, but in a very different Westfield," she began. "I was one of the few black scholarship students in a place where that identity made me a target for harassment." She paused, noticing parents exchanging concerned glances. "But that's not the Westfield you're joining today," Maya continued. "Through painful but necessary change, we've created a community where excellence isn't about excluding people or protecting harmful traditions. It's about creating a place where everyone can contribute their unique strengths and perspectives." As Maya described the specific changes, the Excellence Initiative, the mentorship program, the reporting systems, the curriculum updates, she watched the audience relax. "The most important thing to understand," Maya concluded, "is that Westfield isn't perfect. No school is. But what makes Westfield special now is our commitment to listening, learning, and growing together. When problems arise, and they will, we address them openly rather than hiding them." The applause was warm and genuine. Afterward, parents lined up to thank her for her honesty. As the crowd dispersed, Maya noticed a girl sitting alone in the back row. She was black, with worn but carefully maintained clothes, watching everything with observant eyes. Something about her reminded Maya powerfully of herself a year ago, cautious but determined. Maya approached her with a smile. "Hi, I'm Maya Johnson." "Tasha Williams," the girl replied quietly. "That was a good speech." "Are you joining Westfield in the fall?" Maya asked. Tasha nodded. "Excellence Initiative. I'll be coming from Bridgeport, like you." "The commute is long," Maya acknowledged, "but worth it." "Were you scared?" Tasha asked suddenly. "When you first came here?" Maya considered the question honestly. "Yes, but I'm not anymore, and you don't have to be either." As they talked, Maya realized that this simple conversation with a nervous new student who could now attend Westfield without facing what Maya had endured was perhaps the most meaningful measure of their success. The real legacy of their work wasn't just policy changes or settlement money. It was in Tasha's eyes as she began to look around the campus with hope instead of fear. It was in the natural way students from different backgrounds mingled during orientation. It was in the confidence of Excellence Initiative students who no longer had to hide their status. Westfield Academy still stood as one of the most prestigious private schools in the Northeast. But now its excellence included justice, its tradition embraced change, and its legacy promised a better future for every student who walked through its doors, regardless of where they came from or how they got there. If you enjoyed today's video, I'm sure you'll love the next one. Don't waste time. Just click on the screen.